Hey people, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mary, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the updates on my mental and physical health after being off of antidepressants for 9 months. My last update was 3 months ago, and at that point, things were starting to look up. I believe I had just lost about 10 or so pounds. I was starting to see some physical improvements, which was great. And my mental health has been honestly in a pretty good place. Obviously, there have been dips and stuff, but I have the tools to pull myself out of those, and I feel like I've been holding very steady in that regard. And the more I am helping my body to heal, the more layers I'm uncovering, because with my physical health, this has been a journey that I did not realize I was signing up for with going on to the Prozac and coming off of the Prozac again. So obviously, I knew that Prozac was causing systemic inflammation just because of how my skin reacted and how my face was puffed up, and I gained 40 pounds without changing anything about my lifestyle. I've always been the kind of person who eats fairly healthy. I've been allergic to gluten my whole life, and I've always had allergies. I'm not going to sit here and say my body isn't that sensitive. My body has always been sensitive, but what has happened with what the Prozac did has put my body into a place that I have never experienced in my life. At this point, I have been able to lose 25 pounds, and this has been a very slow process. And that's a good thing because, as I found out in these past few months, the systemic damage caused by the amount of inflammation that the Prozac and its reaction in my body caused is pretty extensive, and I'm going to get into it. But I do want to preface all of this by saying this is my experience with antidepressants. Every antidepressant I've ever been on, I have noticed over the past decade that I've been on and off them that I tend to have these side effects, but it's this round that my body really hit a wall and started screaming at me that this is not okay for my body. I want to make it very clear that I am in no way telling anybody to just get off of their medications or saying that this is definitely what's happening to you. I'm simply putting this information out there because if it is happening to other people, I think it's important to know that you're not alone. If you do decide that you are having issues with your mental health medications, definitely work with a doctor and a therapist. Don't go off of them cold turkey. Taper off. If your doctor isn't listening to you, find one who does, and listen to your body. That is first and foremost the most important thing. But your mental health has to be in a good place to be able to handle physical healing of any kind. And those two things go hand in hand. So even if your mental medications are causing issues, I still think it's important to taper off of them so that you can have your mental health to get you through the physical healing aspect. That being said, the systemic inflammation that Prozac caused in my body, at first I thought was just acne and some um, weight gain and just inflammation. I did not realize how much damage that inflammation was causing in all these different systems in my body. And over the past 3 months, I have discovered quite a lot. So, as we know, I started having painful periods with the Prozac, and I've always had, like, anytime I've gotten on a mental health medication, there is more pain in my periods, and I just didn't put two and two together. So over the course of the last year and a half that I've been dealing with this Prozac issue, my periods have slowly been lengthening out more and more over time. And it hasn't been like drastic changes. It's been like delayed by 1 or 2 days every month, and then it'll sit there for a couple months, and then we go a little further. And I'm in my 30s, so I was thinking, like, okay, I'm getting older, my body is changing, maybe my periods are starting to change. That was until about 2 months ago when I had a group of periods that were 30 days, and my periods are usually 24 to 26 days. I had a group of like three periods that were 30 days, but one of them I bled for 9 days. And that has never happened to me. My period has always been like clockwork, right when I'm expecting it in that 24 to 26 day window. But like I said, it's been slowly lengthening out, which I thought was maybe a good thing, but have recently come to find that it is not. So I bled for those 9 days. And at that point, I decided to make an appointment with my OBGYN. Going into this, the last time I was on Prozac and I had an experience with painful periods like this was about 3 years ago. And I ended up having to go to the emergency room because of how painful the period was. And I found out that I had a chocolate cyst on my left ovary. So my OB has been keeping an eye on this ovary since then, but it wasn't growing. So I ended up actually canceling my last appointment to have an ultrasound for it. Mistake on my part, because when I went to my OB to talk to them about, my periods being kind of weird, they decided to do a hormone blood test and to do another ultrasound just to check on things and see what's going on. So I had to wait a month. And in that month period of time, I had another period. However, this period was a 37-day cycle. I've never had a cycle that long in my life. And to say I was panicking is an understatement because I haven't had kids yet, and that's something that I really want to do. So my feminine health is very important to me, and I believe that your feminine health shows how well your body is doing. If your body is not able to manage a healthy period every month, your body is not in a healthy place where it feels safe enough to have a child. So I have this 37-day cycle, and this period was the most excruciatingly painful period I have ever experienced. I woke up at 3 in the morning having cramps that felt like contractions. They would radiate from my left side to my right side. And this was going on for like 3 hours. I didn't know if I was going to shit myself or vomit. Sorry if that's TMI, but it's true. Like I was rolling on the floor in pain for 3 hours and it would not stop. I finally was able to get it to calm down with ibuprofen and I went back to bed. And then I remember like my my pelvic region was sore from how hard my muscles were contracting for like 3 or 4 days after that. So I'm very worried about my feminine health at this point in time. And so when I go back for my ultrasound and follow up appointment with the doctor, they end up finding that in the year since I had my last ultrasound, in the year that I was on Prozac, um, my right ovary is now covered in 6 endometriomas. Now, endometriomas mean that I have endometriosis. Typically, you have to have surgery to diagnose this, but endometriomas don't happen without the diagnosis of endometriosis, so it's safe to assume that that's what I have. I've never really had painful periods unless I've been on an antidepressant, and I just never put it together. And endometriosis is a full body condition. It's not just about the uterus. It can spread in different places and it's really quite a serious thing. But the main driving factor of endometriosis is inflammation and immune system issues, which I now know are very big things that the Prozac messed with in my body. So at this appointment where we went over my blood work and everything, I found out that my fasting glucose levels were up in pre-diabetic ranges, as to where 2 years ago, before I started taking Prozac again, and I had been off of it for quite some time before that, my fasting glucose was at an 86. mid 80s. My fasting glucose 3 months ago, after having lost 15 pounds, was sitting at like a 117 in the morning, which is really high and happened really fast in a very short amount of time. So it just goes to show, like, the Prozac threw off my entire system, my metabolic system, my immune system, everything in my body has been thrown off. When I started coming off the Prozac, I started noticing that my body is a lot more sensitive to a lot of foods. I've always had a lot of allergies, like I said, but there has been like a very big increase in things that my body is sensitive to. And since having that appointment and finding out about my glucose levels, I've done what I can to lower my glucose. So I have now lost a total of 25 pounds, and I have been cutting down on carbs. So even healthy whole carbs, I'm eating as little of those as possible. I'm still eating carbs because carbs are important, but I've cut way down on the amount of carbs, and I've also cut way down on white potatoes, even in their whole form. So I'm mostly consuming sweet potatoes or like brown rice, complex carbohydrates for my carbs. Like I said, before the Prozac, this was never an issue. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for my body to heal from this. When I first came out with the Prozac, I was thinking, oh, it'll be like a few months of not eating dairy and oats, and then my body will heal and it'll be fine. I didn't realize all of the other things that were happening, that things that I was doing were exacerbating because I didn't know that they were there. So at this point, I am working on figuring out my food sensitivities and getting as much inflammation out of my body as possible. And my body just seems to be really sensitive to a lot of things right now. So I'm kind of living in a bubble. And I'm not going to say it's fun, but at least my body's talking to me and telling me what's not working for it. And I have a plan of how I'm going to help heal myself. And I'm obviously working with my OBGYN to keep an eye on my ovaries. And my ultimate goal is to at least shrink the endometriomas. I really don't want to have surgery, and birth control is not an option for me because it causes me to have mental health problems, and it also elevates blood sugar. Two things that I very much cannot do to myself right now. So this is just kind of where things are. I wish I had better news. Mentally, I'm feeling fantastic. Even with all of this happening, I'm still feeling on top of things. I have moments where I will get down, but I have tools that help pull me back up. I have friends that help remind me my why and what I'm doing. So all of those things have been really helpful and really great. And my physical health is slowly getting back together. My fasting glucose levels are down around 10 points now. So they're like sitting about 100 to 110, which is a lot better than it was 2 months ago. My periods for the last two cycles have gone back to the 24-day cycle that I had before I started the Prozac again. And I'm about to go into ovulation, and I'm having signs of ovulation. So that means that I will be on track to have another correctly timed cycle this month. So I'm seeing progress, and I'm seeing little things that are showing me that I'm moving in the right direction. But I certainly did not realize the depth of the damage that the Prozac did to my entire body. And I'm having to learn to be patient with my body and listen to my body as I'm moving through this. And I'm not going to lie, it's hard because sometimes I just want to sit down and eat some fries with my best friends on a Friday night, and I can't do that right now. And I've been doing food sensitivity testing, and that's controversial, but so I feel like this is the right direction for me to go in. And I will be having to cut out more foods, but that's hopefully a temporary thing as my body's healing. The main goal right now is getting as much inflammation out as possible. So I'm eating pretty much all whole foods. gluten and dairy free. Again, as I'm finding things that I'm intolerant to, I'm slowly cutting those out or cutting them back. I've cut way back on seed oils. I haven't cut them out completely. And I've been doing a lot of inner work on feeling safe in my body. And that has been challenging through this, just because when things are going on with your body health wise, you don't really feel safe. But during times when I'm not having pain from the endometriomas and all that stuff, or, my cycles are becoming less and less painful, and I'm trying to hold on to the positive things, the things that I'm seeing that are going in a positive direction. My hope is to help my body get enough inflammation down to where, at least when I go back to see what my endometriomas look like in December, that they will at least have stayed the same or maybe even shrunk a little bit. And I would like to stay away from surgery if possible, but that may be something that has to happen. I know for me, personally, medications are not really something that I'm very open to right now. And I know for the doctors, that's frustrating. But for me, I know that's the right choice, because that's what got me here. That's what caused the inflammation. And my body has always been sensitive to medications. So I don't want to take them unless I absolutely have to. And yeah, right now it's a lot of guesswork and being as on top of my physical health as I can be. My main focus for the past 2 months has been sleep, sugar, and safety. And that has been working well for me so far. Once I get through the holidays is when I really plan to crack down on the food intolerances. I know through the holidays that's probably not going to be the best thing to start. So I've already done the test. I'm waiting for the results, but I will cut back on as much as I can during the holidays. And then once we get into the new year, I'm going to go full stop into it. And I'll take you guys along on the journey. I'm not working with a naturopath or anything. I'm kind of doing this on my own. This experience has made me very wary of the medications and foods and everything that I put into my body, and recognizing how much of an impact those things have. I've never really been a big alcohol drinker, but I'm definitely not drinking alcohol now because that causes a lot of inflammation. And I mean, it's been tough emotionally, but again, I feel good. It's just, sometimes I don't want to be the person who can't have fun. But I'm finding ways to make the things that I can eat work for me and have my own sweet little treats and stuff like that that are low GI and all of those things. So we're making progress in the right direction, but it's definitely taking a lot more time than I thought it was going to. And this is just where things are, and I have to be okay with that. And I hope that this is helpful to somebody out there that's maybe going through something similar. My biggest point here is just be very aware of what you're putting into your body, especially with medications, and really weigh the outcomes compared to the side effects. Because if I had known it was going to be like this, I probably would have chosen not to go on the Prozac and found another way to work through what was going on mentally for me. I'm usually a strong-willed person, so that's more of an option for me than other people, but going through this process is helping me learn things that will also help keep my mind and emotions in a more stable place, because food intolerances also affect those things. So I'm trying to look at this as a blessing, even though it does not feel that way some days. So if you're into this or into the woo-woo shit that I also post on my channel, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.